No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Break It Down with Brian H. I am your host, Brian H. Waters. This show, of course, is brought to you by The Wrestling Realm, where you can see my brother in the back, the real Dwayne Allen, and I. We are the CEOs and owners of this brand, this show. So make sure you check out The Wrestling Realm on the Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're there. Search Wrestling Realm, of course, with a realm being spelled W-R-E-A-L-M for those who are currently listening on their podcast. And if you could be listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, we are there. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And while you're there, browse some of the other stuff that we've done on this brand. Make sure you check out. We go all the way back to 2011. You might have liked wrestling then. Remember when CM Punk, guy who made a comeback this past week? We talked about him heavy because we was right in the thick of things during his run. So you can relive that conversation, or you can see some of our timeless material. We give you our best SummerSlams, our best Intercontinental champions, WWE champions, the best and the worst. But then there's also things we discussed, bounties in professional wrestling, gang warfare. And then we also we talked about breakout superstars back in 2017. Who were the breakout stars in professional wrestling? So we talked about that. So subscribe there. You can get that. Make sure you also check out my cousin who did this beat for the show, Hypno Beats, on the Instagram. So ladies and gentlemen, allow us to go right into the first thing we're going to talk about. Becky 2 belts. Yes, Becky Lynch, folks, she won the title, both titles at WrestleMania 35. She became not only the Raw Women's Champion because she pinned Ronda Rousey, but because it was a winner-take-all match, she became the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. And we all know Ronda Rousey has gone on what she called an impregnation. And I guess I said it right. She's getting ready to start a family. So she's taking a break from the world of professional wrestling. So there's been a girl named Lacey Evans who stepped up, and she's made it known that she wants Becky's Raw Women's Championship. So after Becky Lynch defeated Alicia Fox this past week, Lacey Evans came and attacked her. Now we know she attacked her the night after WrestleMania. I believe it was the night of the Superstar Shakeup. Either way, Lacey Evans did it again, and now it's official. They're going to take on each other. But we go to SmackDown, where they said that Becky Lynch and Charlotte would have a face-to-face. The first time they went face-to-face since seeing each other in the main event of WrestleMania. And Charlotte said, look, you didn't beat me. And Becky had to remind her, the rules was winner take all. What did you think was going to happen? Well, Bayley comes out, and Bayley said, look, we've seen this story over and over again. And because of that, we got, excuse me, because of that, we got a match, an impromptu match. Or maybe it wasn't because Charlotte wasn't in her gear. Nonetheless, it was Bayley versus Charlotte. The winner would face Becky Lynch to get a future opportunity for the WWE SmackDown Live Women's Championship. So, right there, this is what I like. That the titles are not merged. Becky's just holding 2 belts. What does that mean? That means she can defend one on Raw and one on SmackDown. This is what I was hoping they had did when they first, when they crowned, the first time they did like the Undisputed Championship. I knew they wasn't going to, but I was like, I would have loved to see Chris Jericho maybe defend the WWF Championship and maybe defend the World Championship. Unfortunately, that's not the direction they were going. Even when Randy Orton and John Cena had that match, they made it clear that wasn't going to be the case, but they was all carried. Like Randy Orton carried 2 belts, Daniel Bryan carried 2 belts, John Cena carried 2 belts, and then Brock Lesnar won the 2 belts, and only carried 1. But Becky's carrying 2 belts. I love it. That means she's not going to just defend both of them to the same person. And it's official at Money in the Bank. Because after Charlotte won, Kayla Braxton asked Becky, like, hey, what you going to do? She said, I expect to be a fighting champion. I'm going to pull double duty. This is what I want to see. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Becky loses the SmackDown Live Women's Championship to Charlotte. However, I'm kind of on the fence because I would like to see how long she'll do this. But then part of me is like, you know what? Let's get one of those titles off her. I know I said that last week. So we shall see. So let's move on. Folks, I know people are complaining. AJ Styles went on to win basically he was the last man standing. They had 2 triple threat matches. The winner would face Seth Rollins for the WWE Universal Championship. A lot of people don't like it. Here's how I feel about it, honestly. I understand people want to see Drew McIntyre, but me personally, I want to see Drew McIntyre take the title from Seth Rollins. So I'm not mad at this match. Here's the question though, and I ask everybody, tweet me at Brian H. Waters. Is AJ Styles, who's the bigger face on Raw? AJ Styles or Seth Rollins? Because part of me wonders, okay, I understand them taking Roman off of this show, but what if they would have left AJ Styles on SmackDown? Would Raw really be stale? Or did you call AJ Styles over because you saw what he did with SmackDown? Now, I'm not really a ratings guy because me having a television background and also a digital media background, I understand things are different. We'll never be in the days where TV shows such as Monday Night Raw are getting 5, 6s, and 7s. Like they was during the Attitude Era. But I did see something where the ratings dropped significantly. I think it was like a 2.9 to start off and then dropped down to a 2.1. So people were changing the channel. Now you could say, well, you had the NBA playoffs. They know that. NHL playoffs. They know that. But I don't know, man. I really don't. I think that AJ Styles is sent over, and I think they wanted to kind of get Seth Rollins going. And it was more important to, kind of hotshot this for that reason. But maybe we'll get Drew McIntyre chasing. And I guess the thought is also, we just had the superstar shakeup. We had enough of Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. So because of that, let's get him in the ring with AJ Styles. Perhaps there'll be a dusty finish or a non-finish. Maybe it's also Money in the Bank. Maybe there'll be a cash in that night. Although personally, I think that you'll see whoever has the Money in the Bank briefcase, I think you'll see them carry it for a while. Last year was Braun Strowman, but how many people really remember that? We know Alexa Bliss cashed in right away. It made sense because they wanted to get the title off of Nia, but to get it on Ronda Rousey. So I think personally that when a woman wins it, she's going to hold on to it for a while. And I think perhaps that's going to happen with a man. So I don't know. But let's move on. SmackDown Live. It just happened, so it may or may not be a picture. I don't know if I'm going to put it on post-production. A little behind the curtain for you. The main event. Kofi Kingston taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. Kofi's first singles match since winning the WWE Championship. Last week, him and Xavier Woods allowed Kevin Owens into the family. Everybody was waiting for the turn. They said, when is Kevin Owens? He's going to turn on him. Nope. This week, after Rusev beat up, Rusev, the attacks happened. All of a sudden, Kevin Owens was helping, and then boom, sweet chin music, super kick, right to Kofi Kingston. And shout out to my boy Dr. D in the Wrestling Realm group, my brother. He said, he put the gif of Stevie Wonder. Yes, we could all see it coming, but sometimes the predictability is good, and it's about the execution. And what a shot. This is what Kofi Kingston needs. We saw him chase to get that championship, right? Chase. and he chased, and he fought, and he fought. Now he's going to have to fight harder to keep it. And you want a guy like Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens is one of the best heels in the business right now. And I think that him chasing Kofi Kingston is exactly what he needs right here. So only time will tell. I can't wait. More than likely, that's going to be your Money in the Bank match. I hope Kofi Kingston wins. I don't see, part of me would say, well, maybe they told Kevin Owens, look, we're going to go with Kofi. You'll get the belt afterwards. But then, this is much better because let's say Mustafa Ali doesn't get hurt, right? Then we get a face Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania? No. Clearly we got the best match, the greatest WrestleMania moment, in my opinion. We got that. One of the top 5 WrestleMania matches. So we'll see. It's time for the top rope.
Time for this week's top rope segment of the week.
The top rope this week, ladies and gentlemen. It is official. We now finally know who will be Cody Rhodes, or I guess we got to call him Cody, who will be his opponent at Double or Nothing, the AEW show that we've all long anticipating. It's going to be his brother, Dustin Rhodes, formerly known as The Natural. Now, this is my top rope because great storytelling, and I'm excited. I want to see what kind of stories, how they going to sell this one. Because Dustin is making clear he's got a bone to pick with Cody. Because it's the story of you want to fill Dad's legacy, but you're not smart enough to realize you can't fill Dad's shoes. I already learned that. There's a 14-year difference, right? So you heard the stories. We've seen them wrestle in the WWE, but this is going to be good because he says he's proud of him, but he's kind of got to give him a lesson because he's not ready to go ahead and be put to bed, So I can't wait for this. This is going to be good. This is, to me, I know a lot of people out there had who, some guesses. Some people thought Marty or Skrull. To me, this is what I wanted to see. A Cody and Dustin match, not under the WWE machine. Because, they're going to WWE-ify it. I hate to say it. I mean, I'm a huge WWE fan. I know a lot of people, sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not cool. I don't care what people say. I'm a huge WWE fan. So call me what you want. But I do recognize they always have their little filter on things. It's like Disney, right? So, shout out to my friend Ashley, host of A&B Podcast, right? A&B Sports. She's going to get on me because, But we were talking about Boy Meets World. So you had Boy Meets World on ABC growing up. It was one way. Then suddenly, about 15, 20 years later, Girl Meets World. So now you got Corey and Topanga, who are married now. And they have a daughter who's around the age when Corey was when Boy Meets World started. But it had that Disney filter. And it just wasn't the same. I watched it myself. I was like, Dad, why are you watching a girl show? And he was like, no, this is Boy Meets World. This is what I grew up on. So that's the thing about that. I understand that. Like, just like Girl Meets World had that Disney filter, Dustin and Cody would have had that WWE filter. And that's not something we want. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take my first break. Got a word coming up from my boy, the Shark.
What is up, people? This is Sean Williams, host of Variety Bites, and, of course, one half of The Shark Attack with Sean Williams and JP Mayer as part of the Sean Williams Podcast Network right here on Anchor, as well as on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. And you are listening to Break It Down with my good friend, Mr. Main Event himself, Brian H. Waters. Brian, do your thing, my friend.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. So, Roman Reigns, folks. He's on SmackDown, and a big story coming in to this week's episode of SmackDown was, would Roman get fired? We all know he punched out Vince McMahon a week ago after the situation with him and after the situation with Vince McMahon revealing Elias, and then as the biggest acquisition, then here comes Roman, But Shane McMahon comes out there and basically says, look, my dad's a stand-up guy, somebody everybody should aspire to be like, yada, 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 yada. And then, those two get ready to square up, but then here comes Elias, and Elias and Shane attack Roman Reigns. This sets us up for Roman versus Elias at Money in the Bank. So my guess is that they didn't want to put Roman in a Money in the Bank match because, I don't know, maybe they're not ready to, they don't want to tease us with him in the world title picture. Maybe they're taking their time with him. Maybe they know how fans are going to be. They want to keep as much sympathy on Roman as possible. With him being on SmackDown, it's a lot different than when he was on Raw, because you could start to see the boos starting to come around again. People may not want to admit it, may not want to be admitting that they were the one booing, but we kind of saw it coming. But nonetheless, we saw Roman and Elias. They are going to be set for a one-on-one match at Money in the Bank. I know there was rumors that Elias was going to win the briefcase. That's why you don't pay attention to the dirt sheets, folks. So I'm interested. I can't wait. Moving on. So the Iconics, they're tag team champions, but since winning the gold, they can't seem to win a match. As we saw this past week, Naomi was victorious over Billie Kay, and then Kairi Sane was victorious over Peyton Royce. So I know what people are thinking. Why wouldn't they win the tag titles? They don't win matches. Duh. They win when it's time. They win when they most need to. They win as a unit. Why? Because they're iconic. So that's great. I can't wait to see what goes on down between those two. Now it's time for our Tapped Out.
Here's our Tapped Out segment of the week.
Sometimes you wish for things and you wish for it and they give it to you, but then they take away something. And what happened this week? They gave us Bobby Roode, finally, right? As a heel. But they changed his name, and now we have to call him Robert Roode. And they gave him the X-rated mustache, the creepy stash. Why? I just don't get it. Like, he's Bobby Roode. He's been Bobby Roode. He was a TNA World Champion. One of the biggest stars. Like I said, my dream match was always Bobby Roode versus Randy Orton. Now, when they got it, it wasn't that great, but, But then they brought him to NXT. And he became glorious. And while he was there, he was winning championships. He won the NXT championship. And was one of the best in the game. And then they bring him to the main roster. He becomes a babyface. It's like, all right, whatever. Wins the United States Championship. Okay, that's cool. Then he teams up with Chad Gable. And I believe they were tag team champions. But it just didn't look right. It was out of place. Then they finally turned him heel. But, oh no, we're going to change his name. Now he's Robert Roode. So, I'm not a fan of that at all. Not at all, folks. So, but hey, I don't like it. Somebody do. Long as he becomes a world champion soon, I'll be fine. But just position him in a good way, folks. I'm just not a fan of Robert Roode. So, moving on, AEW got some new signings. Shout out to Private Party. They are all elite, signing with AEW. Got a chance to see these young men wrestle at CZW. Was one of the most entertaining teams I've ever seen in person. They came out there And they was a party. They had this guy who was with her. I don't think he's their manager no more, but he had the suit. You know, when you go to the club and you always got that guy who's kind of like the bouncer, but or the rich guy walks around with the suit, handing out the drinks. They had somebody like that. And, they was out there just having fun, man. So, congratulations to them. I'm excited to see them get their chance. Really hope they succeed. And then, of course, another shout out, hit the button, to the one and only Blue Pants, or as we should say, Leva Bates, who is now known as the Librarian. So, congratulations to Leva, one of my good friends. Always enjoyed playing Friday the 13th with her. Shout out to her. Took me to Columbia Burger when I went to WrestleMania 33. Her, my boy Blake. She said, "Look, we gotta do this. We gotta take you here." We went to Columbia Burger, so I'm really happy for her. Obviously, well deserved. She's one of the most creative minds in the wrestling business. I had an opportunity to call one of her matches at WSU Wrestling, and the amount of time and that she spent with me before the match to let me know which spots to call and how to really sell it and get her character over shows how much she's invested, and that's why I am really happy that she got this opportunity. So congratulations to Leva Bates. She is all elite. So I'm going to go ahead and take my final break before we come from the Wrealm.
Yo, this is Malik Smith with the No Rules Podcast, and you're listening to Break It Down with Brian H., brought to you by the Wrestling Wrealm.
And I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. So, coming up from the Wrealm. Actually, you know what? Let's get right in. Let's hit the music. How am I start and not hit the music, right?
And now for our From the Realm segment, where I answer your questions from the Facebook fan page, the Facebook group page, and the Twitter at Wrestling Realm.
From the Wrealm this week. So check out the screen if you're on YouTube. As you can see, a little bit more production value added. Got the name. I'm only putting first names. I ain't putting everybody government out there. Even though this was coming from the Facebook fan page this week, all the questions. So you would see that last name. But in order to do that, you got to get in the Wrestling Wrealm group page. And there's questions, so make sure you answer those questions, even if the answer is no. 2 questions. I think one is like your favorite wrestler of all time, and the other is have you ever watched the Wrestling Wrealm? And if you haven't, you should be now, obviously. But make sure you join the fan page. So the first question comes from my girl Diamond. Her question is, what in the entire hell did they do with Bray Wyatt? So obviously I didn't talk about this because I saw the questions. I knew, I was like, you know what? Some of the stuff I ain't got to talk about until I get to these questions. What are they doing with Bray Wyatt? This almost ended up on a tapped out. I ain't going to lie. But I realized I dislike Bobby Roode more. Bray Wyatt, this seems very interesting. Could be something that could be funny down the line. I don't know where they're going with this, but it seems like maybe they're just trying to change his character PG. And I'm thinking this could be one of those things. It could be a small setback, or I should say, teaser for even more crazier reveal down the line. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure, but it's certainly interesting, to say the least. Next question. So we got 2 questions from my boy Damaris of the Flex Zone and Die Sporting Net. So you see, you heard him on the show. We did a TLC post show, I think it was. He'll remind me, but nonetheless. Why put Rude and Ricochet Rude versus Ricochet and Cesaro versus Alexander when all 4 knees showcase matches since they have been rebranded or moved didn't make sense. So it's 2 things. Well, I think with Ricochet, you have a guy who's kind of going into his own, and you also have Bobby Roode who you're trying to get over. As a heel, Ricochet automatically has that instant baby face. So with Bobby Roode, he's the heel, and I think you get more heat on him this way by beating up a smaller guy like Ricochet. And I don't think this hurts Ricochet because he's going to be like a Jeff Hardy. He's going to be over no matter what because of what he can do in the ring. Then he asked, well, and as far as Cesaro and Cedric, I'm not really sure about that one, not going to lie. because I think, if anything, Cedric needs it more, but maybe they're trying to reestablish Cesaro as a top guy or get ready to send him into that next role as a top guy. So I think I'm going to reserve judgment for this one right now. His next question is that, why give away Rollins versus Styles already when we have Corbin or Drew as heels that are right there? Same thing. I think this is just a hot shot because they need to get the ratings going and they feel like AJ Styles is the guy. This reminded me of us getting AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns right after Roman had defeated Triple H. Even though AJ Styles was still new, people knew he could put on a good match. And that was for him, his way, where he earned his spot in the main event. So I think right here is two things that can happen. And I also thought about maybe Seth Rollins is hurt. And, we saw that he talked about having broken back stuff and whatnot. So I thought he was going to lose at WrestleMania and he would be written off TV. Maybe that's going to happen now. So, and maybe they're going to run with AJ Styles. I don't know. But this also could set up for a cash-in. This could be something bigger. Maybe Drew McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank briefcase and he cashes in. God knows we hope Baron Corbin doesn't. But that would definitely draw a lot of heat. And next we have the Shark. So Shark has quite a few questions, as always. First, since Bobby Roode is in a singles run and a heel again, will this work or can it still backfire? I think this works. I think this is exactly what he needs. Long as he turns it up a notch and we can get what we got in NXT and TNA, I think this works. Next question. Why does WWE, or at least Vince, hate heel factions so much except in NXT or NXT UK? I don't know. Maybe because heel factions may have to play bullies and he doesn't want to do that. That's the only thing I can think of. I know that's what Bully Ray was saying, that Vince told him like he couldn't have the Bully Ray character because of the Be a Star campaign. So I'm not really sure. He also asked, next question. Can this goofy Mr. Rogers neighborhood from hell gimmick work for Bray Wyatt, or is WWE trying to fix something that wasn't broken? I think this can work. I think Bray has that ability to be able to pull something out of nothing. So I think he's that good. I think people underestimate that about Bray Wyatt because we just never really had to see that side of him. So this is going to be interesting. We're going to find out what we have with him. If you could pick two Money in the Bank winners, who do you think needs to win the briefcase the most? I want to say, from a women's standpoint, I'm going to say Ember Moon. I think Ember can benefit because we haven't seen a woman as a face as the Money in the Bank briefcase holder yet. It's been Carmella and Alexa Bliss. So I think she could benefit from it. I think it will fit perfect with her character. From a man's standpoint, who needs it the most? I would love to see like a guy like Bobby Lashley. I think, I know there are the rumors that he's taken off during after SummerSlam, but you can't believe everything. So I think he would benefit from the most. We've seen WWE change the War Machine's name 3 times, from War Machine to War Raiders to the Viking Experience to the Viking Raiders. What should WWE do if that name doesn't take off? Just leave it alone. We can stay with the Viking Raiders. I said last week, even though I didn't like it, I think maybe it's a PG thing. So I think you keep that name, and they're going to get over it just because of the type of wrestlers they are. As long as they're able to keep that character. I was listening to my boys at View from the Top Rope, and like they said, no matter what you call them, if they be able to keep that style, they're going to take care. He's like, even if you call them Thing 1 and Thing 2. And then his last question: how long should Becky go pulling double duty with both titles? I say that she should be back to one belt by the time SummerSlam rolls around. But should she drop one sooner? Me personally, I think she should drop it now. It was cool, but I think you get the title back on Charlotte, and then you have sets up for a Bayley or a Ember Moon to take the title from Charlotte. I think it was cool. We saw the man. She did her thing. She's been red hot since SummerSlam. And now we understand, let's let her run on Monday Night Raw and let her dominate that brand. And then the last question from Seagon. Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. His name is, what's going on with what's going to be Kofi Kingston's WWE title reign direction. I think Kofi's going to have a decent run. I think he's going to take care. He's going to have that traditional babyface run that probably will last till SummerSlam. We saw this with Naomi a couple years ago, so I think that's what's going to happen. I just hope he doesn't get like pushed to the side. I love the fact that on SmackDown Live, the main event, he was in the main event, and he was that was the last thing we was left. Kofi Kingston getting turned on by Kevin Owens, and that's what's going to make it a big deal. I just hope that he can main event one of those pay-per-views. So, one thing I didn't get a chance to talk about before I close out, Sasha Banks, man. I understand that Sasha Banks is word on the street, because that's all it is for right now. Word on the street, Sasha has not gone to is going to wait out her contract. So people may say, well, what do you do? I don't get it. Obviously I'm not there. It's more stuff, I'm pretty sure. I can't see her getting, like, people, the rumors about her losing the titles. She's not going to post all that stuff congratulating the Iconics. But that does make you think maybe she's not invested anymore, because there's no talk about getting those titles back or saying, you guys got one. So I don't know. Maybe she's just happy, but overall, I think she just needs a break. She's been going at it for a while. These women in this women's revolution, and when you really think about it, when have they gotten a long break, an extended vacation? So I think that's what she needs, and I hope, I would love to see her get back in there, but doesn't mean, they're still going to continue. Still going to be a WWE, still going to be a women's division without her. So that's where I am with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. So, make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Wrealm. Subscribe down low on YouTube if you're watching. Click the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher. If you're on Podcoin, get them coins while you listen to the podcast. Make sure you subscribe there, because you can do that too, and drop a 5-star rating. Until the next time, folks, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit subscribe down low, and check out all the other stuff brought to you by the Wrestling Realm.